Good day, everyone. Just finished marking those last test results, and none of them, well, a few people did really well, but there were a lot of people that seemed to have some misunderstandings about what they were required to do. So what I thought I'd do in this video is just go through how to sort of do this last test, the assessment 3, um, and sort of try and explain my thought process as I'm going along. Now, I haven't really thought too much about this before I started the recording. The idea is that I want to show you what to do when you run into an error in a macro, how to think about fixing it, and hopefully at the end of this video you'll have a bit more of an idea on how to do macro tasks in future, as well as any ones that we've got for the rest of the semester. Okay, obviously I've read through this sheet quite thoroughly when marking them, so I know that starting with question 6, or well, by the time I get to the end of this and I'm doing question 6, I need to make sure that everything starts out blank. So I'm going to be doing this work based around that ideal, that I'm knowing in the end my buttons, the worksheet needs to start blank, all the data, all the buttons, everything need to flow from the first macro. Okay, so first up, go to the Developer tab. I've already turned on macros. I'm going to do the data entry. So problem 1 is create a macro to set up sheet 1 as data input. That's just going to be inputting the data, basically. I think the idea of this question is we wanted to demonstrate to you that that you can use macros to input data, which might not have been immediately obvious to anyone else. I mean, quite a few people copied the data from somewhere else in the workbook, which was definitely not the idea of this. Now, I'm also going to give it a name that's helpful to whoever will be running this macro after me. Set up run this first. Hopefully that's a name that's acceptable. Oh no, can it begin with a letter or an underscore? Can we do that? Set up run this first. There we go. Okay, so now I'm recording the macro, and I'm just going to start 12. I will actually run into an error by the end of this when I run this macro. They'll explain when I come to it. 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of them. A, B, C, D, E. Now, so entering this data is pretty tedious, but there's not really much to be done for it. 4, 3. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those people who can really talk and type at the same time. So if I get a little bit quiet while I'm entering this data, you'll just have to bear with it, I guess. Yeah, as you can see, the more I try and talk, the more I make mistakes. I'll try and just do this as quickly as I can. 3, 4, 7, 8, 8. Just entering this all in with the keyboard as much as I can as well, because the macros will tend to run a bit smoother if I'm not clicking all over the place. It's the sort of thing that clicks in a macro will slow down Microsoft's ability to run that. 3.94.3.8.7 one row to go. 3922.8. Does obviously help if you've got a good typing speed, or set up your keyboard the way you like. Probably should have picked the one that wasn't as tedious to enter, but I wanted to do this one because I like the chart options I can talk about at the end. But we'll come to that. 4.2. Maybe I should cut this bit out of the video, I don't know. 93860.9, 3834.2, and 3865.3. Okay, there's those entered. And we also need the test specimen dimensions. So width is 12.7 and thickness is 0.76. Is there anything else I need to do for this question? So before I finish recording the macro isn't going to record pauses in the time, so that's fine. I can just see, is there anything else I'm missing? Input data, yield loads in newtons, test specimen dimensions, I've got that. Okay, so it also, the question says I need to set up the page including the other tables. So I will continue to say that we're going to have down here coil, and then we'll want stress, and we'll put stress by 5, and A, B, B, C, D, E. And perhaps I'll say across here output data. Something like that. Okay, I think that's just about all I needed for this macro. So I'll now stop recording. And now let's see if it worked. Start from blank, macros, run this first. Now you'll notice that I've got a coil that's popped up over here, and it should be up there. Now I can think, oh bugger, look how long it took to enter all that data. I don't have to re-record the whole macro. I want this coil to be up there, and I can have some idea of the error that I've got here. I mean, oops. I know that that if I were to say click in that cell, if I were to start in B2 when I run the macro, well then it's going to run fine, because that's where that coil piece goes. Maybe there's a way I can tell the macro to do that. I don't know, let's have a look. So you can see here I start, the first piece of code in the macro is this line here, active cell formula RC1 coil. So I'm just going to guess, I mean I don't know, Visual Basic programming is not too hard to work out, but I'm going to hazard a guess and say that what that's saying is active cell paste coil. A reasonably good guess. I can also see this next piece of code that says range C2 select. And again, you can probably guess that that's telling Excel to select the cell C2. So I might recycle this piece of code and paste it up here, and I need to start in B2 for my formula to work. So I'm just going to put that piece of code in there, close it down, try again. This time I'll click over here somewhere and we'll see if it works. And there we go. So I first selected B2, then input coil, then ran the rest of the macro. So that's pretty good. Now what have we got next? Question 2 is add a button to calculate the output data. So macros, I'm going to say, I want to record a new macro. We'll call this output. And while recording, so I'm going to start over here. And what's the first thing we're going to say? We need load divided by area. So I suppose I could have calculated an area, but that's okay. I can also just say I'll take load and divide that by area is width times thickness. So that's fine. And then I can just paste this through. So stress through there. Oh, I forgot to pull that up. So at this stage, I'm going to say, alright, I don't want to have that error in my macro. I'm going to delete that macro. Yes, and I'm going to start again because I don't like to have those little sort of errors. It's not a big thing, you don't really need to do that, but I want to now. So output, again we want to make sure that I'm selecting that cell first. So if I go back and look at the code of this macro, I'll have at the start here, select H this, select C14. The important part is that I've told Excel to select C14 first before I start this. So divided by that times, that times that, and I need, remember that you do that with F4, put the dollar signs in, make an exact reference. Drag it across, and drag him down. Right, so that's the stresses for those. And that's it for that macro. That's already half the marks in this thing, it's just doing that much. Alright, what have we got next? Notice I'm not creating the buttons yet either. I'm going to do the buttons at the end because, as question 6 says, that should be done in a macro. That's why it's always important to read through the entirety of the assignment sheet before you just go plotting ahead. Okay, now we've got another button to plot the output results to a chart on a separate page. So I suppose I can start with called macro, call it chart. Now, I'm probably going to run into an error here, but we'll see if we can come and sort out the errors as we go. Clustered column is probably the best way to display this. Well, look at that. Excel already knows what I'm doing. Now, I wonder if I... Okay, so I can't mouse around. If I click on the chart, I've currently sort of got the chart selected. If I click on it, what that's going to do is it's going to put in this reference into the macro, which is select chart 1. But every time I run this macro, the chart number is going to increase by 1. So I'm wondering if I can get away with moving this or influencing this chart without using the mouse. Maybe I have to use the mouse, I don't know. I suppose I can... maybe if I do it from up here, I won't get that error. Anyway, another part of the question is that the chart needs to be on a different page. There we go, move chart. Okay, so I want this chart to be in its, a new sheet, call it chart, whatever. And I suppose I could do the layout information as well. I'll see if this records well in the macro. So I can call this stress, put axis, labels, data labels, titles. This should really read coils, not stress. Oh no, that's good enough. Yeah, so there's a few ways that I could have influenced this data. That's probably better, yeah. So I've clustered it by coils now. Just a bit easier to read. Again, you wouldn't get marked down if you didn't have really nice and pretty charts, so long as the important part in this question was that you made a chart and that it was on a different page. Stress in megapascals. There you go, pascals. And we don't need that over there. Okay, hopefully all of that recorded correctly. Stop. Now, let's see if I delete this. Yes, delete. Oh, I probably should test this macro as well. I haven't tested this one yet. So let's go into developer macros. Let's run the output macro. Yep, so that all seemed to work. Now let's see if we run the chart macro. Item with a specified name was not found. Okay, so this was that bit I was talking about with the chart 1 activate. But you can see all this is really doing is this is trying to select that chart. It's activating chart 1 and then it's selecting it. But whoops, don't know what just happened there. But the code at the start of the yeah, I'm still recording. Good. The code at the start of the macro is saying that we're adding a chart here. This line, active sheet. So on the active sheet, go to the shapes menu, add a chart, and then select that chart. So I don't really need all of this code here. This code that's saying select the chart again. That was me clicking on it and causing problems. So I should be able to get rid of that. I suppose maybe a few of these things are going to play a bit of havoc with me. If I try and I've got quite a lot of these select charts actually. Okay, well, this is the sort of time where Control F can come in handy. So I can just see what happens if I say I'll select all of this text because I've got this occurring a lot of times and I don't want it to be there. Let's go through the current module and replace. Oh, but that was Control F, by the way. Find. So find is Control F. Bring that up and I say I want to replace everywhere that I see current chart 1. Replace with nothing. Replace all. 37 replacements. Okay. So that's stripped all of those out because that's going to give me an error every time I try and run this thing. Now it might give me more errors when I try and run it now. I'm just going to see what happens. So there we go. There's that. So macros, chart, run. There you go. How about that? I just went through and stripped out the piece of bad code, the piece that was saying select the chart, its numbers keep increasing, and now I've got this chart that does all the stuff I wanted it to. Beautiful. Beautiful. Alright. What's next? So, another button to run a macro to set up the page, form the page for printing. So this is to be A4 portrait format with header, field test data, etc., etc. Alright. Developer, record macro. Let's call this print setup. Or print format, maybe. I like that name more. Print format. Okay. Now I wonder if I record me changing the view, that's probably not going to matter, but we'll see how it goes. Now this code can be a little bit tricky in that the more times you click in the header and footer, again the slower it's going to run the code. So I want to click in here as few times as I can. I want this to say yield test data. That's good. I'll click out of there now. And in the footer, I want I want the current date. So I've got date there. You'll notice this is a code as well. Quite a few people said the 18th of the 9th, 2012. This code and date will become the date when you click out of the cell, and it will update to whatever day you view the sheet at. What else do I need? I need my name and student number, and then lastly I need the page number and page. Click out. Now the other thing to check, does all of this fit on the sheet? Yes it does. Maybe I'll make this a little bit prettier for printing. So while I'm here, I'll put some borders on that. Borders on like so. I could make column A a bit narrower. I'll have to undo these when I'm finished, something like that. And I can make these ones a bit wider. Maybe a bit wider again. Again, I want to use as few actions as I possibly can here, so that it comes out nice. Okay, that's looking a bit better. And I'll also make this like so. Output data can be bold. That's pretty much it. That's all I want to do for print formatting. So let's read the question again. A4 portrait format, correct? Header including yield test data, footer with your name, page number, and date. Stop the macro. Okay, now I can, go back to some form of zoom like that. So let's see if I strip all the formatting away, no border, and I want everything not to be bold, and I want everything to be the same, everything to be the same width. Something like that. Now, let's go developer, macros, print format, and and one more thing. Make sure I've taken all these out as well, just to test that it's working. I want to make sure everything's working before I keep going. Macros, print format, run. So it's a little bit time consuming, but yep, got all that data in there, and everything's all well formatted here. Sweet. Okay, next question. A button asking if a print of results to another page is required. This question threw off so many people. People thought it was asking to actually print. The language is a bit confusing, but the key part of the sentence is to another page, if another page of results is required. So that's really asking you, do you want the data to be copied to another page? Again, I'm not making the buttons yet. I'm just going to record a macro. This macro is, I'll call it duplicate. Okay, now starting from this cell, running down to there, that's all we need. Copy that. Maybe I'll go on to, should I go on to a different page or a different sheet? It does say another page. When I was marking these, I was paying it to either a different page or a different sheet, but may as well do it to a different page. And I suppose down here will be the same width, so that's going to be nice. I'll put this in here. And again, that's pretty much it. Stop that macro. So I can go in here and delete all of this, and I'll strip all the formatting, and let's see if that macro works. And I'll click somewhere weird too to make sure that it actually works if I'm clicking in a different place. Duplicate. Run. So yeah, so now I've duplicated this to another page. Okay, beautiful. Last question, make sure the first worksheet is blank before submitting. Once the first macro has been run, everything should flow out of that. Okay, so this is where you have to sort of think a little bit laterally. So we want to start with a blank sheet as we had to begin with. We wanted to have nothing here, no page, no nothing, and we want all of these to be the same width. So about 80 pixels or have you, 40 something, good enough. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to first run the first macro, and then after that I want all the buttons to come up. So I'm going to record a macro of myself making buttons, and then add the code from that macro into the first macro, so hopefully everything will set up. But I need to see where this is going to show up, so I'm going to first run that setup macro. Okay. I'm also going to make the formatting changes later, so maybe I'll try and fit the buttons in underneath. Yeah, underneath works. Okay, record a macro. So this one's name doesn't really matter because I'm going to copy the code out of it. So let's just call it buttons. I haven't put descriptions on any of these, but it is a very good idea to put descriptions in. I'm just trying to be quick about it. So it's not as important. Okay. Right. Now we want insert, and I think it's this kind of button. I'll find out pretty quickly if it's the wrong kind of button. Okay, so let's put this button in there. Now, can I edit the button, I wonder? So again, I don't want to click on this button because the button number is going to increase every time I use it. So maybe I can go to properties. Yes, that's good. So now I don't have to click on the button. If I click on it, it's going to put in this piece of code that's saying button, button 1, and then when I run the macro next time, the button number is going to all increase by 1, so it's not going to find it, it's going to give me an error. Can I make this any bigger? Yes, sweet. Alright, what do I want it to do? Caption. Yeah, so I don't want it to be button 1. I'll make this calculate. And oh yeah, I've got widths and positions. I've got all sorts of data on this thing. So left, let's make it exactly 50. I'm just playing around with it to make it nice. What happened there? Right, 30, left, 50. Okay, it doesn't like that. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, none of this stuff really matters too much. The important part is I'm trying to find where I can assign a macro to this button. Anything look like a sign here? Shadow, take focus on click, yeah. I don't know. Oh. Let's see what else I can do with it. Design mode. Maybe I do have to right click. Command button object, edit. That's not what I want to do. Format control. Probably should have looked up how to do this first. View code, I guess. Oh, okay, so I have to apply the code to it from here. It's got to be a better way to do it than that, surely. I'm quite certain I've managed to get this to work in the past. Okay, well let's say I go into view code and I type in the code just to see what happens. I'm not sure this is going to work. But I go into view code and I type into the code. I want this one to calculate. And what did I call the thing? Output results. Where are we? So I've got duplicate there. I want to run the code for output. I wonder if I just type output, if that will run that code. I don't know. I don't know if it does. I'm not sure what the correct code is. Let's go back here and just say output, and I'll see if that works. I just want to see if this much of my macro works now, because I don't know if it's going to. I can do other stuff from here. Oh, holy shit, that worked. Okay, good. Well, yeah, so to make things more complicated than they need to be sometimes. Right. Now, I'm going to almost certainly get errors when I run this now, but I just want to run it anyway and sort of get a feel for what those errors are in the first piece of code, make that first button work, make it work no matter what, and then I can copy that code onto all the other buttons. So there we go, there's that one there. I hasn't renamed it, but at least it does that now. Okay, good. So maybe I can go into, I want to go in the code for buttons. Let's see what we've got here. What does it do? Active sheet, yes. Command button 1. Select command button 1. Okay. So yeah, I don't know if I can rename it. I wonder if I go into see now I want to get the idea for what the code to rename a button is. So I'm going to record another macro, and in this macro I'm going to edit this button. What do I call it? Calculate. And stop recording. Now I'm going to go into that macro that I just recorded and have a look at the code for that. Active shapes command button 1 dot select selection verb for example. Okay, so it doesn't even seem to record me doing that. Sometimes you just have to admit when you don't know. So I don't know how I could assign the name to that thing, but I do know a way to get around that problem, and that's what I'm going to do now. So I can't rename it, but what I can do is I can say, I can put calculate above it would be better than underneath. So again, macros, buttons, I'm going to edit this. So you can see I've got this information here, like where the button shows up. Maybe I want it to be showing up at 55. I want it to be at the top of 280. I want it to be exactly 100 units wide. I don't know why it comes to so many decimal places when you first make it. And actually, maybe at 100 units is way too wide. I don't need it to be that big. I only need it to be 50 units wide, and I only want it to be 10 units high. And actually, I want it to be a bit lower than 280. I want it to be. Now, I wonder if 280 is positive up the page. Oh no, we'll find out. Let's see if I can make it go down by saying 260. No, 300 rather. I want to make it go down the page a bit so I can put some other stuff in there. Okay, let's copy that. Now, let's delete this macro, delete this button. Macros, buttons, run. Alright, so now I've got this little thin strip there. Maybe that's a bit too thin, but anyway. So now maybe, what's that cell? That cell is A20. So if I go back into buttons, edit, I want select range A20. Actually, can I do it like this? Yeah. A20 dot select, and then I want to put data in that. What was the code for putting data in again? So I'm just scrolling through other pieces of code, looking for auto-generated stuff from Excel already, till I find a point that does what I want it to do. Yeah, active cell formula. Okay, so this is how I can input stuff into the active cell. And I want this to say calculate. Alright, let's close that off. Again, I'll delete this button and we'll run that macro. So there's the calculate button, and if all has gone according to plan, now when I press this calculate button, okay, I calculate. Good. I suppose it could be a bit wider, maybe a bit taller. Buttons, edit, height. Where's the height? Yeah, 10 was pretty small. It could be at least 20 high. But that's this basic piece of code that I've got now for buttons. Ah, beautiful. Now I can copy this, paste it again. So now instead of A20, I want, say, C20. I want C20 to read chart. I don't want it to come in at left 55. I want it to come in at left, okay, maybe 105 will be enough. I don't know. I'm going to have to play around with that number. And how can I assign this button, I wonder? Sheet shapes, button 1. I wonder if I have to. Does the code for that always stay the same? Command button 1 dot click. Yeah, it might do. So I might need to do something like this. Command button 2 underscore click and run chart. Maybe that's what I've got to do. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Okay, so now let's again delete this. Macros, buttons, run. Okay, so that didn't go quite far enough across, but that's okay. See what happens if I go that. Yep, that works. That works as well. Okay, getting somewhere. Yeah, it's funny. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the assessment, and it's worth the least amount of marks. But I'm going to puzzle it out to show you that it can be done. Because, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of entertained by doing this as well. I'm one of those weird freaks who actually enjoys using Excel. So 330, no, hang on, I didn't want to change that. I wanted to change this one, didn't I? It needs to be across further. 135 maybe, that might be enough. I think it's important to keep deleting these buttons as well, because if I'm not deleting those buttons, I think that's when you end up running into errors. So again, you want to keep trying that. Okay, so it could be a bit further across still. So 30 was about that far. Maybe I need to go across another 30. I'm just getting pedantic now. I don't need to be doing things this slowly. Design mode, cut and cut. Macros, buttons, run. Okay, that's probably good enough. So now I've got calculate chart, and I can just do this twice more for what do I want? Print format and duplicate results ? So macros, buttons, edit. Okay, so C20, now I'm going to go up to E20. What's the difference between these two? 55 and 165, so I've added 110. So in this one I need to go up to 275. And I'm going to change it from chart to print format. And then I need to go into here, and I'm going to copy this code, paste that code again, and I want button 3 to run print format. I think I called it print format. What was it? So I can again scroll up through here and find the thing I want. Print underscore format. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Print format. Very good. While I'm here, I may as well do the last button. So command button 4 will be not print format, but what was it called? Duplicate. That's definitely what I called it. Okay, and then back to this one. And I'm going to get macros here. E20, almost done. So EFG, G20, 275 becomes 385. So again, these pieces of information here are just moving the button across. How many of the time? 32 minutes. That's not that bad. So again, it only takes like 30 minutes to do this assignment, and that's with talking and recording stuff and everything. Print format. No, I don't want this one to read print format. This one needs to read a copy. What would I call it? Duplicate. Duplicate results. Yep. I think that's about right. I think that's about it. Close. Design mode. Delete. Delete. And get rid of these. Now let's run buttons. Okay, that's good. That's very fucking good. Calculate. Good. Chart. Perfect. Print format. Also good. And finally, duplicate results. Does cost the page a bit, but whatever. Lovely. Okay. Almost there. Home stretch. Home stretch. Okay, so last thing to do. Again, delete these buttons. Delete everything, really. Strip all the formatting. So Control A, delete, strip formatting. Change the width of these to the same. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Developer, macros. So I want to edit. Going to copy all of the code from buttons. So I'll copy this green text as well so I can see where buttons starts. Not copying the end sub and sub buttons, because that sub is a subroutine, end sub is end subroutine. I don't want to do that. That's going to tell Excel to put this thin line in that you can see here. So that's not good. But now we go back to the first macro, run this first, and at the end of running the first macro, before end sub, I might just do something like, is it just a dash to do the lines? No? Double dash maybe? It appears to just be a dash. Yeah. Okay, good. And I'll paste that in there. So, buttons macro now comes in underneath. Good. Close that. Fingers crossed as I save this. I don't know how many people save theirs as just Excel workbook as well. It's a macro enabled workbook. If you want your macros to be read, you've got to do it like that. Okay, save as a macro enabled workbook. I'll call it example. I'll save it to my desktop. Right, now having saved that, now we can test it. So before I do anything else, I want to test this macro. Set up, run this first. Run. Okay, that looks good. Calculate. That also worked. Well, it's a bit further up the page than it could be, but whatever. Alright, chart. Yep, that works. Print format. Waiting. Duplicate results. Okay, so all those buttons work. I mean, I could go down in, I'd probably be best to go back into it now and move these buttons down again. I'm not sure why they moved up the page, but I could go into the code and edit that. I'm not going to do that now. Hopefully you can see where editing those button positions came from, where I changed height was equal to, I changed width was equal to. So I could change top and push them down the page, but you get the idea. I can squeeze all that stuff in. I can move this one back across a bit. That's pretty much it. You know, I hope that I've demonstrated there's not this isn't an impossible task. It's not the sort of thing that is just I don't know, some demonic torture device that we've inflicted upon you. This is stuff that will really wow your employers in future. And I mean, again, I'm a bit of a freak because I actually enjoy doing this. But Excel, you know, why would you not take advantage of all the things that it can do? You never know when using a macro is going to be just the thing that will make your particular spreadsheet do what it needs to at this given time. Text editing and drop downs and formatting and all that sort of thing, they only get you so far. Macros will really make up the difference there. Alright, hopefully that's been helpful. Yes, enjoy the video.